All right, hello everybody. Happy Friday, or whenever you're seeing this. The reason I say Happy Friday so often, for those of you who may not be familiar, is I post once a week on Fridays. So that is why I say Happy Friday. That's why I open with that. Anyway, today, I've had a few people message me recently over videos asking about the writing on the walls. I got writing on the walls in here all over the place. So I thought I'd give you a little background, a little history on that. So we got to roll back about 30 years. Bad, that freaks me out a little bit. But I had just graduated from the Art Institute of Seattle for photography in 1989, the fall of 1989. And like just about any college student who took out loans to get through school, you get out. And if you want to pursue your particular career, you oftentimes can't afford to because you have rent, you have all these things you got to pay for, and you got student loans. And so you find yourself working whatever job you can get and not even necessarily being able to do what you want to do. I did that for about 3 months before I realized I can't afford rent. I can't, well, as a commercial photography, person, I wanted to be in commercial photography. The stepping stone to get into that and get good experience was to assist other commercial photographers who were, doing it for a living. And I was in Seattle at the time. And you couldn't freelance assist and, have a photographer call your number, which at the time was a pager, call your pager, and they call you up and they say, hey, are you available tomorrow? Are you available, a couple days from now? And you're like, oh, I'm working. You do that too many times, they won't call you anymore. They just won't. That's just the reality. And that was starting to happen. I'm like, shit, no, okay, what can I do? Well, one of the photographers who was a teacher at this black and white darkroom, rental darkroom where I was working after school, he had a van. He had a full-size Dodge van that was all he'd built out like a camper. It was really nice. And he was having a lot of trouble with it. And he was wanting a new rig. So anyway, I talked to him and he's like, yeah, I might be interested in selling. I can't figure out what's going on. And so I was pretty sure I could. And I bought it from him. And all it needed was an intake manifold gasket. It had a bad vacuum leak. And it was purring like a kitten. He was not terribly amused. Anyway, he had built a beautiful wood interior all over this panel van and put in custom windows and stuff. And it became my home. I bought it with that full intention. I'm done paying rent. And this way I can quit the job there. I can afford to just freelance assist full time and be available. And that's what I did. But along the way, as I began this very unorthodox lifestyle, which at the time nobody I knew was doing it, van life was not a thing. The only people, I didn't know anybody who lived in a vehicle. As I began doing it, I started spotting people who were doing that, but they were truly homeless and destitute, and not all by choice like I was. All the same, it was an odd transition, and it took a couple months to get busy enough to where I wasn't spending a lot of time in the van because Seattle. And this was January, February, March, as I was building up the freelance, work. It's raining a lot and cold, and so you're in the rig a lot. And I was doing a lot of reading, I was doing a lot of writing, and these bare wooden walls just started calling to me. And I started just writing things every now and then on the walls in there. And that continued for, well, actually lived out of that van for 5 years. I wasn't done doing that until 1995. So, yeah, I was doing van life before it was a thing, before social media even existed. And when I was finally done with that van, one of the hardest things about letting it go was I had written all this history on the walls and all these writings that were important to me, poetry, I'd written everything. And anyway, it's something that continued. I raised a family, etc. I no longer was living in a vehicle. But when I got my Bronco, which was the vehicle I had before this truck, and I had it for 13 years, it had a white headliner on it, And we started writing places we'd been, times we camped, different things on that headliner. And it's pretty cool. I actually have a picture of that somewhere. Maybe I can find it. If I do, I'll post it up here. But anyway, when I started this life again, almost 6 years ago now with Hella, with this truck, it just started happening again. I mean, I have a white interior. The interior was white when I got it, but it was terribly worn, and I had to repaint the interior, which I did. But it was like a blank page, and boy, it just started happening. And it started with the partition door. So, let's give you a little tour of the writings in Hella. Well, of course, this was the first thing that got written in it. And that 5/5/17, that was the first night I actually slept in it, which I slept in the rig for a year and a half before I even launched, because I was running a one-bedroom house, and my son really needed a bedroom to himself. So once I built out the interior in here, I moved in the driveway so he could have a room. And then the next thing that got written is one of my favorite Frank Herbert quotes. It's from the book Dune. Of course, you'll probably recognize it. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. That's a huge, huge thing for me. And then this was a newer one that kind of came along recently. I heard Sean Penn say this, and I loved it. Caution can become cowardice. So true. Another person I was meeting with for the first time, telling him what I was doing with the philanthropy and living in the rig, he said, that's a blue ocean idea. I'm like, blue ocean? What the hell is that? And he explained that that's, at the time, was some phrase for a unique new idea. For any of you who know how to navigate by compass, you'll know this one, red in the shed. I'll let you Google that. There's a famous off-road driving mantra that will keep you out of trouble. It's also a sniper and military operator mantra. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, meaning taking your time is always going to be faster. Taking your time doing it right is always going to be faster than if you tried to do it fast. All right, gotta jump in real quick on this one. I was confusing the sniper quote, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, with the famous off-road quote. I think it was like an old Land Rover quote or something. As slow as possible, as fast as necessary, as being what your approach should be to any off-road obstacle. You want to go as slow as you possibly can and give it just as much gas as you need to. In other words, have a nice controlled, deal over whatever obstacle you're going over. You don't want to hit it fast and hard. You don't want to go slow, so slow that you lose all your momentum. And it's a fine line. But so I was confusing the two. And sorry about that. Oopsie. I believe that. And this is one that I needed to know very well. You're enough. I still have to remind myself about that often. So I'm also a big Rumi fan. So this quote was one of the first ones that was written on the door. Wear gratitude like a cloak, and it will feed every corner of your life. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Then I love this William Wallace quote. Every man dies, not every man really lives. And this is true too. So these are all really quotes that really moved me and are really important to me. I love this one by Gandhi. We need not wait to see what others do. We wait too much a lot of times in our culture. Great Einstein quote. I'm sure a lot of you know all of these. Adversity introduces a man to himself. Albert Einstein. And of course these all say man, 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 but it's just human. It can be a woman just as well. I'm not hung up on that whole deal. And I like this one. This one is probably not as well known. Home is not where you were born. Home is where all our attempts to escape cease. By Naguib Mahfouz. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't even remember where I saw it, but I love it. I'm a big Blade Runner fan, so this quote you'll recognize if you are too. Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave. Spoken by the character Roy Batty, but it's true. If you're living in fear, you are a slave. Let's see, love this one by Anai. It is not easy to find happiness in ourselves, and it is not possible to find it elsewhere. She is so right about that. Then there's this huge famous Theodore Roosevelt quote. I'm not going to read that whole one to you. It's known as the Man in the Arena quote, and it's fantastic. That was put on here early too. As you can see, it's kind of fading. And then we have Charles Bukowski. Find what you love and let it kill you. Yep. Afraid I kind of abide by that one too. And then last but not least on this forward wall, by Pema Chodron, you are the sky. Everything else, it's just the weather. I love that. So yeah, that's the door, the partition door writings. Then on the back wall is written in order of that I've gone, every place I've ever spent the night. Wherever I've laid my head to sleep, I've written it down. I don't write down every time like a lot of these. I've been there several times. But once I've slept somewhere once, they go on the wall, and this wall got full, so we switched over. We started working on this wall, which has less room. But there you go. So my last new spot to sleep for a night was Miramar Beach, just north of Pacifica, near San Francisco. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love this history on the walls. It's really a big deal to me, and it's just fun to see. So there you go. For those of you who have messaged me asking about what's with the writing on the walls, now you know. It's just a quickie, but it's sweet. It's personal, and it's unique, and I've done this. Like I said, I've done it with my first van, and I did it with my Bronco. I guess I can't help myself. If I see a place to write, I break out the Sharpie, because I don't keep a journal. It's like the walls in here are like my journal, I guess. I do keep a travel log. I write down every day I travel. I'd write where I came from, where I ended up. So I do have that kind of record, but there's something about the places on the wall. It's just hung with me. It's kind of a tradition for me. And yeah, so there's your explanation. And I enjoy the messages. If there's other things you guys who follow me and subscribe to my videos are curious about, don't hesitate to message me and ask me questions, or even in the comments, and I will answer. Very responsive that way. So anyway, wishing you all a great weekend, and thanks for watching.